You're listening to Biz-Souls, the business podcast with an edge, hosted by me, Rona Lewis, and Jeffrey Hansler. Tune in for perspectives and discoveries about the changing world of business. It's time to connect to the heart, soul, and humor of how business gets done. Hello, everyone. It's time for Biz-Souls. I'm Rona Lewis.
I'm Jeffrey Hansler. And we get to the heart and soul of business people that make it happen. I'm sorry. I'm beginning to lose.
You had a little brain fart there, but we're okay. We've been doing this is the
nobody was hurt.
That's right.
No animals were harmed in this.
Although your cat has been all over us the past few. We've been doing a few podcasts in a row just to kind of line him up, and his cat has been very happy to join us.
Yes, I think we embarrassed him, though, by talking about his neediness. I think he's gone crawled on. Fine, I'll leave. I'm not needy. I'll never speak to you again.
He did leave us a lot of fur.
All right, so we're talking about sympathy versus empathy. And a little bit on the business side. It's also based on, some of the, it's not.
Finish the sentence, Jeffrey.
Look, it comes down.
I empathize with you.
It comes down. Yeah, exactly. It comes down to some hard decisions, though. All right. So.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me hear your opinion, and then I'll throw you.
Here's do this program. Do several business programs, training programs, and in almost each one, there's a section on the difference between empathy versus sympathy. Sympathy is you get caught into their emotions, you get emotionally hijacked, you get amygdala hijacked. And empathy, on the other hand, is understanding how they feel. It's that remaining a little
I'm gonna challenge that. I think you have it backwards.
No, it's empathy. You want empathy, not sympathy. Sympathy is where you get dragged into their emotions. Empathy is where you understand their emotions without getting dragged into them yourself.
Okay, I'm going to look that up because...
all right, let's look it up. We probably should have done this before.
Way I say, and I think Brene Brown actually described this. When you're empathetic, you're down in the hole with them. When you're sympathetic, you're looking down at the hole that says, "Oh my God, I feel so bad for you being down in that hole."
We're going to do a podcast on stupidity. I think we should have done that.
We should have done
that
today. Okay,
look it up.
Keep going.
So, and here's the thing. There's a lot of change going on in the world again, and that's going to be kind of the sub theme for what's going on, and we're having to deal with that change, and the violent protests are not a way to do it in the United States. Maybe in other places they are.
I win. Empathy involves feeling with someone by understanding their emotions from their perspective, fostering connection and vulnerability. Conversely, sympathy is feeling for someone, expressing pity or sorrow for their hardship from a distance.
Honey, I totally disagree. I read that. I read this, and it feeling with somebody, not getting. This is feeling for somebody.
Yeah. That the sympathy is, I feel for you. I'm not grieving. I feel for you because you are grieving. That's the key. Empathy is sharing and understanding feelings. Sympathy is recognizing suffering and feeling sorrow for it. Empathy is stepping into another's shoes. Sympathy is observing from your own perspective.
Jane, you ignorant.
I'm reading it.
I understand what you're reading. This is hilarious. This is great.
We should have done
this before. Oh, I totally disagree, and I totally think that backs what I'm saying.
This is great because now I want to hear your guys' opinions. What do you think? Who's right, Jeffrey or me? And the one who loses buys the next pizza. Not that I'm competitive or anything.
We know it's going to be right. Okay. Not a chance. Anyway, all right.
So
anyway, you know what though? This is true because a lot of people, when we talk about that, and it's a vocabulary word, and people are going, "Oh, you're splitting hairs. It doesn't matter on it." So let's talk about it. The trouble is we're not in agreement on the terms, so you can't do it.
You send someone a sympathy card. You don't send them an empathy card.
Exactly.
But I'm sorry for your loss. I'm not grieving your dad's loss. I'm grieving my dad's loss, and I can be empathetic because I understand I have been there. But I've never owned a turtle, so I don't know what it feels like to have your turtle die. But if you have a dog, then I know.
I had turtles. A lot of them bit the dust under my.
And you wanted to be a veterinarian.
Exactly. That's
Thank
why.
God
It's one of the
it's
reasons.
not like that.
That's one of the reasons I wanted to be a veterinarian is for it. So, here's the thing.
Okay.
So there's
This is
there
such
are
a good
lot
podcast.
of people. There are a lot of, for example, deportation right now. It's a big subject. People are throwing all these protests. People are getting violent over this stuff.
They are.
They're throwing
On both
things on
sides.
it. So I have empathy for those that came into the country illegally. By the way, my dad immigrated legally.
Okay.
And it was tough back then, and the procedures have gotten worse, not better.
Right.
And the backlog has gotten worse, not
Right.
better. They've been trying to deal with the symptoms instead of solving the problem. I still don't know if they've solved the problem. We're still dealing with the issue. So I have empathy for them. And I understand. Yeah, I get taking a shortcut. You want to come to America because it's a great country and all this stuff. I get it. I don't have sympathy that they're getting deported, though.
See, and
The reason is you broke the law, and if we're going to be a rule of law, I have empathy for them. I understand how you feel, and I understand this upsets you, and I understand it upsets other people that know these people, that they have become friends with them. We're not talking about the criminals and the violent people. We're talking about those people that are, that came here with very little means.
And your example is actually correct, because I feel bad that people get deported when they want a better life, and if they're here illegally, yes, they should take pains to go about it. So I do not feel sympathy for them. So yes, your example was correct. Your definitions were wonky. Just saying.
Switching over.
That's a real talent, let me tell you.
Switching over to the business side of it. A friend of mine was hired to build, he was picked up as president of a company.
Okay.
And Trafalgar Tours, as a matter of fact. Then 2008 happened, and he was then told to cut the staff. So he built it up from 60 people to 235. Wow. He was told to cut it back to 80 people. And so he had to fire him.
It's a big cut.
And I said, so every day he'd go in, and we'd drop over for, a discussion afterwards. And how do you do it? I mean, we're talking, he'd get rid of 5 people every single day. I mean, he'd go into work, and that's what he was doing all day long, deciding who he had to fire. And several of the people he had to fire were, because in the travel industry, there were a lot of women in the industry. Several of them were pregnant.
Yikes.
And this is before, healthcare, and before the laws that said you couldn't get it. You couldn't, if you lost your health care.
He felt horrible, bottom line.
And he said, I have empathy for them. Here's the thing, though. If I get caught into how bad I feel about it, I'm not gonna be able to do my job. Right. And they'll hire somebody else that will do it. And I know I'm doing the best I can to do it in the most caring way possible. And either case, empathy involves hard decisions, and it involves a mindset. And that's why you're talking about mindset, which again reminded me.
I think they both do in business. Both sympathy and empathy require the right, even with your, no matter what you call it, if you're in the trenches with them, if you are one-on-one with them emotionally, if you've been through it and you're right there with them, it still takes a lot to take yourself out of it and do what has to be done in terms of business. And if you're, even if you're apart from it, you don't necessarily understand what they're going through, and you feel bad that you're going through it, like your friend did, it's still a hard thing to do. So it's taking yourself out of whatever emotional state it is and doing your job. And that only goes up to a point. If you know you're doing something illegal or you're really hurting them, then I think your emotions and intuition need to come in.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Because otherwise, that's how the Nazis got there,
Yeah. I think the most important and this doesn't get mentioned a lot, and I try and mention it when I'm doing a program, is sympathy or empathy are both better choices than how a lot of leaders deal with this. And what they do is they just become cold, calculated, unfeeling.
Right.
They shut it off. And because of that attitude they develop, would you call it aggressive? They're just like, hey, you're fired, get out of here, you got to do this. I mean, they're harsh. And there's if you can remain empathetic or sympathetic, if you will, at least you've got that caring going on.
Well,
and that leads with the process. Whereas too often leadership doesn't want to deal with it at all. No empathy,
well,
no anything else.
They'll either slough it off onto somebody else.
Right.
I don't want to deal with it, or they will feign some sort of emotion, and you can tell because they're not smiling or having any kind of emotion above their nose, so that they're faking it. And, oh, it's I know it's been tough, and we have to let you go. You've been great, and it's sorry, gotta go. There's nothing I can do, and that's the worst. Sorry, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah,
that means nothing.
Well, and so I think the worst thing is it's not personal. It's just business.
Just business, right?
Yeah, it's always personal. It doesn't get more personal than changing somebody's opportunities.
Right.
So anyway,
I agree.
That was it. Just a discussion. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, let us know your definition of empathy versus sympathy.
Yeah, I think Rona, as we go through it again, will be maybe backing down her statement.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think so. Either way, Jeffrey made his point. All right, that is it for today. I'm Rona Lewis.
I'm Jeffrey Hansler.
And this has been Biz-Souls. We'll see you later. Oh, yeah. Check the box, subscribe, tell all your friends, comment, please. We could use the numbers. Tell us where you're from.
Yeah, by the way, Apple Podcasts now, they're put on video.
Yeah, so we'll be going to them too.
We'll be on video on Apple. So for all those Apple users that love us, now you get to see.
Take a bite.
There you go. But
all right. We're out. See ya.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Biz-Souls podcast with your hosts, Rona Lewis and Jeffrey Hansler. Did you have fun? Subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. Talk to you next week.